right, so we are back at it again. This is another top 16. This time around as the PPG Pro Play Tour Dallas, April 20th. 420 YOLO with the singles event, the main event on 420 and the 21st, which should be today if this all goes well, with Top Cut and wow, I just hit a glass, teams and etc. We had 171, I do believe. 175 is probably a more accurate number, but we did have 175, 171, around that range. Not too much compared to all other celebrations since it was free and it was in different locations. It was playing out further ahead. And I think Dallas was playing out in the actual tour. It's just, you know, it's PPG. It's yeah, you get it. You get why it's maybe a little bit different. But before we even get through anything, I do want to shout out again, if you didn't look at my community tab, for Mr. Eggman, Mr. Hayden, he got third. My God, third in Swiss, almost undefeated. He should have been undefeated. Long story short, his only loss was due to a negate a God Strike Beerus trying to negate the victory strike and removing it. So if anything, I believe he is undefeated. In my heart, he is undefeated, and he should have been first or second, right next to Dahan, which he beat in top 8, into top 4, which he lost to Anthony Hernandez. But if anything, to make it better, Anthony Hernandez took the whole event. Shout out to him, coming right back from the dead with full force from the previous events and as well as this one. I know you watch my videos. Don't play, my friend. Do not play, because he called me out on the pan video and all the other stuff. So I haven't met him, so I can't say anything about his demeanor or anything. He seems like a cool guy, albeit his whole history and his whole thing. What I would say is that, hey, deck checks and stream and being on camera, I think he did really well. And as far as the Broly player, which I don't think he gets enough recognition. I don't think anybody's talked about the Broly player. Everybody looked at the Broly player and was like, oh, it's just Broly, you know, just doing his whole thing. But I think he played pretty damn well as well. And it went to a 2-1 series. Like I said, Anthony came to play. He did some cool stuff in the third game, warping his Brolys with the 6-drop or the championship pack Bardock. A lot of cool stuff. If I can find all of the VODs and put this in there, if I have the patience enough to do that, I will. But again, a lot of cool stuff. Eric from our Discord got on stream with his black yellow Massan. That was amazing. Unfortunately, he didn't finish the way that he should have, going undefeated 4-0 first and then not doing so well for the rest of the days. It's no big deal. A lot of cool stuff. Even Noms is out there. Shout out to him, my man. It's okay. We will be at the next event. You will be at the next event. I will be at the next event. We will do exactly what we need to do. This is just practice, because the real events, as we take a look at the top 16 and everything else, will start in June. Not that this is not a real event. This is totally a real event. A lot of big players, a lot of big names and stuff like that. Because that's when the actual season starts, and this is still technically preseason. Oh, by the way, if you didn't take a look on the stream, and I think Scott Slater, I know you watch my videos too, and you're always commenting, did the work as far as breaking down every single leader who was actually registered there. If we take a quick look at this is the entire breakdown, which is why I say it's 171 players, not 175, which is no big deal really. Maybe it's just not on here. I think this is interesting to look at. Let's just put it that way. Also, again, shout out to PPG for the whole event, George, everybody else. It seems I didn't go to it. I haven't been to any of them. I plan to in the future. I probably wish I went to this one. It's like $80 for a ticket. It's not that big of a deal for Dallas, but oh well. And then yeah, I think it seems like a really cool event. And shout out to Dusty and everybody else who was commentating, and it looks fun, and I wish I was there. Let's just put it that way. Either way, as far as the data goes, let's take a look at the data. As far as Kid Goku, a huge showing, 171 people, 40 Kid Goku, that's a lot. 23%, almost 25%, 1/4 of the meta in this actual event, or the format, or the leader archetype, I guess, is 40% is Kid Goku. That's crazy. 27 Super Shenron, so that was kind of expected. And Green Broly, 21%, 21 Dex, 12%, 15%, etc. A lot of yellow Broly. I think people are on the train and that yellow Broly is still very strong. Shout out to Marcel Russell taking a deck that I took in Vegas, and he absolutely busted ass and get into top 16 with the Broly GT deck. Seriously awesome. And then Janemba's still sinking in. Shout out to Butters. Like we'll take a look at Butters deck in a second, where like man, I didn't know he had it in him to play something other than androids. I'm sure he is a good player. I don't know if you remember me, man, playing on Untab all those times before. Yeah, neither here nor there. But yeah, really awesome. And then we have Blue Gogeta, which I do believe is Veku ramp. None of them in the top 10. No Shenron in top 10 or top 16, sorry. We have 8 of them, and then it just kind of goes from there, 5 or less for everything else. We had 3 Cell, 4 Pan, not too representative, but it's okay. Red Gogeta, which I believe is set 6. I can't really tell if it's the promo or not. I'd imagine, well, there's plenty of promo Gogetas now. Golden Frieza, which is just 3 of them. Let's see, 2 Hercule, which is interesting. I would think there is more, but I think it loses to the other bigger decks too. Instead, 2 Yellow Dende. Oh, that's interesting as well. Energy Boo, wow. And then 1 Lord Slug. Oh boy, the 1 Mass Saiyan, that was Eric. That's hilarious. Who was on the stream? 1 Yamcha, 1 Vegeta Baby. Wow, 1 Vegeta Baby. Man, just think if we switched it. If you didn't watch my pan video, I talked about 3 different things in Advantage, and a couple other things that make it a meta deck, and basically that good players play good decks, and these are the good decks. Like if you look at the top 4, these are the good decks outside Janemba, maybe a couple other ones. And I think they're only good decks because of the advantage they make, and because of how, I would say, above average they are in fairness, right? Super Shenron is probably the least amount of fair because it takes another turn, and because of the whole archetype behind it, and the entire thing of just attacking multiple times and untapping energy at turn 3. It's great stuff. And then we had a lot of different Kid Gokus, a lot of different archetypes. This is just looks like it's broken down by color and as well as the archetype within it. So Dende Boo, AOD, all of these other ones. So not too many blue leaders, not too many red leaders at all. I guess it just can't keep up. A lot of yellow leaders, especially with Cobra, and as well as, look at this CHEELAI. There's 2 CHEELAI, by the way. I didn't mention, but Eggman did play CHEELAI if you didn't see that. And then a lot of Broly started with yellow. This is an interesting graph, actually. I had to take a look at this before, but at least you can see the screenshot. I don't want to take a look at it too long. And then this is the breakdown of success, which is also very interesting to take a look at. So cool. All right, so if we take a look at the actual top 16, I know I talked a lot, so let's kind of go through this pretty quickly. So a lot of card dominance. Some of this is pretty much the same thing, with Flying Nimbus, Bean, and 4-star making sense, with Kid Goku being at the top, with the answers to Super Shenron, Senzu Bean, and Flying Nimbus. Also, I didn't talk about how accessible these decks are. So if we look at Kid Goku and Super Shenron, those are the 2 strongest accessible decks that we have, other than Janemba. And Janemba, because of TN, it's a little bit harder to go far with him, and a lot of people are a little apprehensive because of TN. So that's a big thing. When comparing to everything else, Super Shenron is a pretty cheap deck. Some SRs here and there, and a couple other uncommons, maybe if you want to do the event packs and stuff like that. Kid Goku is not very expensive outside of the Demigra SCR, which I don't think you even really need, except for some matchups. And you can just build it pretty cheaply, within like 50 to 60 bucks if you include the SRs and a couple other things, right? I think when you build it as well, it's not that bad. Senzu Beans might be a little bit, but they should be pretty reasonable with the anniversary box coming out. That's just me. But when thinking about it, again, Kid Goku is a very good deck. It's the best fair deck that we have in the format. Yes, people are gonna be figuring it out, just like how I did the top 5 decks. I'm telling you, people are gonna be figuring that out and going from this and understanding this. Super Shenron, yeah, people do have figured out as far as the answers, but the thing is that they have answers to those answers, and it's really tough to beat. But we'll get into that. And then Green Broly, least accessible because of the lack of stock / distribution issue or whatever with set 6 and the starter decks being $25, the Paragus combos being super expensive, the SCR being expensive, the SRs being expensive. So it's less accessible, but people will buy it and play it if they feel like they can win with it, which you definitely can. It was in the finals like 2-3 times in a row outside of San Diego. So I think this is just a really good deck. Anyway, going back to this, kind of really went through the breakdown of leaders. When we look at the top 16, we have 4 Janemba. Oh my. 4 Janemba. We had 4 Kid Goku, which makes sense. 3 Super Shenron, which makes sense. 2 Awakened Threat. The Yellow Broly, interesting. The 1 Broly in the finals. CHEELAI and Limo. Eggman. Also, by the way, Eggman, if you're watching this, if anybody's watching this and you tell him, the Oobs are sold out, so now they're like $40. Thank you for that. And the Brolys are now going up in price. And also, can we also talk about, if we go through the trending leaders, CHEELAI and Limo is now a trending leader. Good job, Eggman. Good job. You did all of this. Let's just talk about that for a second. Anyway, so those are all the top 16. That's very cool. Now I'm gonna kind of pick and choose some of these. I might just go through all of them, but really just touch on some of these.
Oh, again, one more thing, other than the very awesome gift that I made, right, for Eggman, we did have the little poll here saying who's going to be winning the event in Dallas, and with almost 500 votes, which is a lot. Thank you guys for voting. I really do appreciate that. We had Super Shenron at 45%, a rounding success for that. Starter Deck Broly only has 16%, but he was in the finals, so that's something to take a look at. It's so funny that all these other ones, like I'm telling you, accessibility. I think there would be more in the top 16 if more people played the deck as much as Kid Goku. Like, that would be incredible to see. Also, the mirror match for that is super grueling, so I'd imagine nobody wants to do that. Also for Super Shenron, so I don't know. I guess Hide and Master, we'll get into that. Anyway, so 12% saying Rogue decks. We had a lot of different suggestions. Yes, I spelled Rogue wrong, so my bad. It's so funny that Eggman, if the prophecy came true in him saying, like, or him winning the event on Easter, oh my god, I don't know what I would do. But he got top 4 and he got 3rd, so there you go. And then Pan, how many tops and no win? There's only like 1 or 2 Pans, so I don't know what to say. Dende, Shenron Ginyu Force loses in a best of 3, but best of 1 is the best thing ever other than Broly GT. SS Gogeta, no Gogeta. Bojack, nope. Young Badman says Cug's gay. Of course, CHEELAI hand control. Well, you're pretty close, but no SS2 Gohan. Demigra, yeah, it's a good rogue deck. Janemba, blah blah blah. A lot of different things. If you see yourself here, I read it. Don't worry. Now to get to the actual decks, I do apologize for that. I will put a timestamp. It is hilarious that this costs $550, and we're talking about accessibility and people and putting up their own decks and brewing their own decks. Yes, this is going to be a very expensive deck to build because of the Path to Greatness being so expensive. All of the promos from Celebrations, and of course Victory Strike. So if you didn't know about the deck itself, which I will go through pretty quickly, Eggman will put up his video, and by the time there's like a week pass or a couple days pass, I'm sure he'll talk about it. So please go watch that. He will explain it more than better than I would, if anything. And the other thing is that you know, when he was talking about this deck and going back and forth with me and Young Badman, I was like, are you sure that this beats other decks? And the more I looked at it, I was just like, maybe this could. And on stream and all the other ones that you played, it seemed like it went well with for him because Oob makes CHEELAI and Limo awaken fairly quickly. Dragon Radar, but you know, you combo this, you put 3 into the drop, the Purunga Balls, and you draw 2 from the Dragon Radar. You just have that plus. You have Godly Destruction for the Super Shenron, and as well as Kobolas with the extras in the side, and then TN Dark Power Masayan, last minute suggestion for me, hey. And then of course Dangerous Journey Bulma for Janemba matchups, and I think that was a last minute change as well. But the one bad ring with 1 in the side, Kind Wish being amazing. So if we talk about curve here, and we sort of see what the deck intends to do. And again, I don't want to put foot in mouth for this. Is that you awaken pretty quickly, you draw with the Dragon Radar, you set up defense for Cold Bloodlust and well as Flying Nimbus and Shocking Death Ball, especially since you can just take from life and awaken, especially for the Kid Goku matchups and things like that. And then by the time that you do or if you are at 3 energy, you can go ahead and play Son Goku Path to Greatness for 3, draw a card and tap something if you need to, and then turn 4, whether they have a board or not, Kind Wish will wipe that board to the bottom of the deck, which hurts pretty badly for Kid Goku, Green Broly because they can't Cold Bloodlust it, and Super Shenron because they're gonna have a big board anyway. And with the Whis and Cold Bloodlust for Super Shenron, it should be a pretty good matchup. And then after that, you just go into Path of Greatness into High Mastery, which is just terrible for Kid Goku. I would know because I lost this weekend with it. And then into Son Goku, the Awakened Power, and then just go for game because you have a pretty good hand. And then now the reasoning for the Broly's over here is because of Kind Wish. If you didn't know the Kind Wish, as long as you don't have anything on your side of the board, you can wipe theirs to their bottom and then go into the 4-drop over here and then evolve for 2 yellow. Of course, all of your energy should be yellow, so that's probably, you know, the whole thing about it. There is some green, but they're only there for free or for life or to combo, which is these 2. So I think he will go through it. That's my take on the deck. It is very cool, it has an awesome curve. I am very, very glad that he did so well and was so successful. I don't care about anybody else. I do, but still, I'm very happy about this. Now, the other quote-unquote rogue deck is the Golden Frieza. So again, this is one of those decks that, you know, has been kind of in the meta for a little bit. The Tagoma, the new Power Booster Tagoma, and as well as the Android 13 tech is very, very cool. And this is the kind of the traditional thing of making sure to play as many Friezas armies as you can, use the ability to untap and then play more things as you can. So this is for the removal and for more discard, along with the CHEELAI and partner Limo, with this guy being an Awakener, and then this guy being free critical, and then the Death Ball being awesome, just removing for especially against Green Broly, which is just awesome. Again, just so awesome because the extra cards that remove are so good against Broly, and it kind of mitigates everything else. The 2 Cold Bloodlust, which I'm very surprised that you didn't play more than those, especially in the side, is interesting. And then the Iron Hammer for the Super Shenron matchup is very cool as well. And then a few more negates, which is good. Kali Destruction Whis was not in the main, but now on the side. I'm sure he'll draw into it, respecting the Shigesh. Shout out to Marcel, and as well as the Dark Power Mass Saiyan with the removal for Mass Saiyan. I think this is looks very consistent, honestly. It's a very cool looking deck. Not a whole lot of yellow, but a whole lot of green, which he probably needs to hardcast some of this stuff. So I'm very glad that this got into the top 16. And this is Jacob Daves, if I didn't say that. Now, let's take a look at George Hernandez. 2 in the top 16, huh? A classic Janemba deck. I like it, with 4/4 of the Destruction Rare, and as well as the Demon Sword 1 Vegeta, which I agree with. 4 Charter's Heart Janemba, which is really good in the mirror, and everything else is pretty standard, with 2 Mafuba in the main and 2 Whis, with more Whis in the side and main. I guess he had no he didn't care about that TN. He's like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it right. But the side and everything else with 2 Reality Bender Janemba at all costs, and as well as a Mercenary Tau. So that's interesting. The Goku Shirami being the best in the main probably would be really good against probably Kid Goku, and as well as Pan, which for Pan doesn't really count too much because there weren't too many played. So this one is Devin. So Mr. Butters, look at you go. 2 Cronoa in the main, 3 Kami in the main, which I agree with. Like, Kami should be in the side or main for some of these matchups, especially Kid Goku and Super Shenron. Yes, you have to spend 3 energy if you play it the turn that you do play it. But if they don't remove it, which Super Shenron does not remove, you can just go ahead and mitigate their field and make them play only 3 or get rid of them by the end of the turn. And yes, if you want to get around that, you can always play the 3-drop Vegeta that returns everything to hand, which may or may not be better, but I don't know. It's just a thought. Everything else looks pretty cool. 1 Champa, 1 Unyielding Spirit Trunks, only 2 Psychic Demon, which is interesting. 1 God Strike in the main. A lot of techie stuff. This is pretty much like how would I envision what I would want to put in the Janemba deck, I'd say. Because other decks, they have a lot of 4-ofs, and I'm always particular about putting 3 or 2 or 1 or something, and this is very much something I would agree with 4 Dark Power in the the side. Oh my. Okay, here's Danny Maxey's the Janemba again. So similar list to Butters. I don't really see too many differences other than the ratios for some of these things, like the Childless Heart, and as well as Kai and Kami, with some more things in the side with Crisis Crusher at 3, which I do agree with. Look at that mirror match potential there. Kelsey Samples, Janemba, 2 Zeno button, there it is. And then the 3-drop Vegeta that I was talking about before. So yeah, very, very cool. The Spirit Sword is also a very cool tech, simply because it returns a 2 or less, which is gonna be the Kid Goku matchup, with a couple more Crisis Crusher, 1 more Kami. That's what I wanted to see. 3 Tau, which is interesting. 2 Bad Slug didn't have any kind of representation. Oh well. The 1 Slug player was not able to pull through, which is a bummer. 2 Mafuba in the main, which is cool because I do like Mafuba, simply because you can just Mafuba one of their Explorer Boma and then they can't combo out of it if you're playing Super Shenron. Of course, obviously there's other decks out there that you can play against it, like the early stages of a Broly deck, obviously, because you can only do it to the 1 and 4-drop. All right, here's the Brolys. Marcel Russells, shout out to him yet again. I love Broly DT. It is probably my favorite archetype for Broly. Probably the only one I'll ever play too. But I think this is really cool. Again, pretty similar to what I was thinking before, going all in for the full Shigesh. Not many people. If we take a look here, we had no Cronoa here, no Cronoa. We had Cronoa here. We had no Cronoa here. Here's the Cronoa. And no Cronoa here. And no, 2 Cronoa here. Okay. And then no Cronoa here. So already going through all of the decks, not very many people are playing Cronoa, and I think if we look at the card dominance, I don't think Cronoa was even in the card dominance list as far as the top 15, 16 people. So interesting. I think it always goes back to what is the other person like. Do you have a good matchup against a Cronoa based deck first? And if you don't, are you siding that in? Do you have that room for it, or are you maining it? And the other part of it is like all of these silver bullets, just like for Janemba, how many times or how likely is the other person going to have T and Shinhan in their side, which I think a lot of people are, because I think T and Shinhan affects a lot more decks than Cronoa ever will. I think Cronoa, yes, in the future should have a little more use other than Shigesh. Shigesh in itself is bonkers, but we're going to play that cat and mouse game for a while, and that's the only downside. The only downside. That's the biggest downside to silver bullets for me. Anyway, looking at the deck, looks like it is a turn 2, turn 3 deck. I think on stream I missed it. He probably did end up winning turn 2, turn 3 the first game, and 3 Fighting Nimbus, 3 Badgering, 4 Cold Bolas. I would agree with that because of just the decks that are coming around, like the Broly and as well as Super Shenron. Both of those are killer, and then everything else. If Kid Goku isn't running Cronoa, which we will take a look at in a second, it can end the game pretty damn quickly, with everything else just teched out for the meta. 2 strategies, 2 planet M2s for the Kid Goku matchup. It just all makes sense. Also, only 1 successor and 3 Bardock. Don't really need anything else outside of that. No actual swap engine. It is just focusing on the GT engine and just awakening as quick as possible. So we got Ricardo and his Hide Mastery. Looks like Victory Strike. A lot of techie cards. I have to scroll down out this bitch. 2 Planet Vegeta for successor, which makes sense. And then 2 Shigesh, that's the split. And then just playing defensive into a Hide Mastery Victory Strike. With 2 Battering, 1 on the side. Some teched out stuff. Cronoa right there. I mean, Hide Mastery in general, I think you should run Cronoa anyway, but Bardock Fully Unleashed, etc, etc. Then we now have the Kid Gokus. So this is Dalen Max with the blue-black Kid Goku. If you didn't take a look at the top 8 page on Pro Play Games, by the way, definitely go take a look at that. They had all the matchups of everybody within the top 8 and who's matching who. I just can't. Oh, if I can find it, I'll put it up here. But yeah, 2 Champa, okay. And then the 8 3 split, which is pretty common in a lot of different blue decks for Kid Goku. 3 Dark Power Mass Saiyan, and as well as 4 Bean for the Super Shenron meta, which we are in. 1 in the side, 1 Aid or Aid with 2 more in the main. And then we have 2 Black Mass Saiyan, the Mysterious Warrior, 4 of these, probably just teched out for the mirror match. It looks like a very consistent deck, honestly. You just kind of see what you need to see because everything's either 4 or 3, which rhymed, or 2 for these 2, which makes sense, and then 6 balls. I'm still not a 6-ball person, but eventually I'll try it out. 3 Burning Spawns, Bargos for all the matchups that untap. Group Leader Pilaf, haven't seen that card in a while, and then everything else for the Green Broly. All right, looking at Tony Rodriguez, almost thought this was Tony G. Shout out to him for commentating. We have 3 of the E Supreme Kais, which, you know, that's my thing. I like that. I dig it. 2 Borgos, a bunch of these, the vanillas, the 3-3 split with the 4 3 drops, and then 3 Android 8s. I play the same in my yellow. I get it. 3 Dark Power Mass Saiyan, which makes sense for the blue, and then Trading Buddy Krillin at 4 for the mirror match. Shenron, which is pretty cool, and then I don't think this one had the Gogeta side, which makes sense for the Shenron, but hey, it's all good. Then we have the Demigra. By the way, this guy did not play Demigra, so that's very interesting to look at, right? And then we have the Cronoa in the side, which is that's pretty cool, and then a bunch of stuff for different matchups from Hand Destruction to Haru to Tien to Green Broly. Then we have Gabriel. This is the yellow black, so pretty standard, I would say. 1 Flying Nimbus in the main, 1 Battering in the main, 2 Cargo in the side, 2 Death Ball. So look at these tech choices. If you didn't know, Death Ball does affect because of the separation of the period and can KO something in rest mode. And then 3 Dark Power Mass Saiyan, which makes sense, 2 Haru, 2 Crisis Crusher, and then 4 Android 8. Interesting. And also deciding to go with the Dimension Banisher Fu instead of the Mass Saiyan. I guess with the new ruling, it might be a little bit better to go with the Dimension Banisher Fu instead, just so you can pick and you don't have to go through the choosing thing. If you didn't know, Mass Saiyan, you can warp everything, but the owner chooses, so they can choose the Kid Goku and then they can activate Android 8's ability. Makes no sense, but oh well. Chad Ramsey's deck, also that might be another reason why we had, you know, so much representation, just because of that ruling too. Like, it came out the day before the event, so, you know. Anyway, so we have 2 striving to be the best. Interesting. Same ratios as before. 2 Gogeta in the main. That's pretty cool. And then 3 Dark Power Mass Saiyan. Temporal. Okay. 2 Training Buddy Krillin. Interesting with 6 targets. Okay. And then 5 balls, 4 Power Burst, 2 Whis. And then the finishers over here with Gogeta. And of course, we have the Scientist Fu. We have the Champa in the side with 2 in the main. 2 Ultimate Fusion Gogeta for more removal. Kami for more removal. 2 Training Buddy Krillin in the side. 2 Tien. Okay. Now we get to the Super Shenron stuff. And we'll take a look at the winner's deck. So this was Daehan's. I know Dusty and friends were talking about how his side is super good, but I will point to you to Danny Hype's deck. If we kind of compare both of them, they're only a few cards off in the main, and I'm really not trying to put down anything or take away anything. The guy is amazing. Like, you can see him play, and he's very methodical. Shout out to Eggman for beating him in top 8. I mean, that's a huge feat. And I think it's really cool. Like, if you consider, like, back when Marcus, I think, took Super Shenron for the first time and got 3rd, I do believe he had height and mastery in his side. Either that or I can't remember. I don't bother. This video's taking too long anyway. I don't want to go through it. But the side is very, very cool. But I won't give it as much credit because we have seen it before as far as everything else goes. I think that deck is very solid and very good in what it's trying to do, which is just Super Shenron stuff. There's nothing I don't want to say anything about it because it's just Super Shenron stuff, right? But the side with Harmonic for the Veku, and as well as, well, both Vekus, that is, the Iron Hammer Justice Android 16. I love this card simply because it is a really good card against this matchup and a few other things, where you just revenge blocker, it restands as soon as it
KO something, so you can just keep doing it over and over. And in tandem with the Shenron, the Sensupine, and just multiple cards in hand, it can be really, really good. And since it's a Trials Wish target, you don't have to pay that green. Of course, the 2 Crusher Ball for the Green Broly matchup, the Hidden Mastery package in order for the Mirror, and as well as other matchups like that are slower, like the Eggman Stream match, and then TN and Crisis Crusher. All right, Ryan Bullard. So we have the Super Shenron Storm. This is all over the place, but it makes sense as a Storm deck because you're going to be using the Bardox, you're going to be using the Successor Hopes to get all of the targets that you need up here. You have the Hidden Mastery package in order to tap energy and just swing twice, maybe 4 times if you get the second turn. You have the Overrun package at 1 because that's all you really need anyway. You have more Overrun in the side. You have the Wish of Purunga in the side and the Secret Rare in the side. Who does that? But I guess it's not really needed sometimes. The Super Shenron, or the Super Dragon Ball, was also something that I was actually kind of surprised to see. But I'm guessing to keep a huge hand or a bigger hand advantage early in the turns, it's just really good for any Shenron leader. Plus, if you get to Awaken, you get to use Explorer Bulma right after and get more cards into a drop. So the Super Shenron or Super Dragon Ball should be a card that Super Shenron players should be considering in the future, I would think. But overall, very cool deck. Cronoa in the side. I'm gonna have to keep putting that out. Now we have Anthony Hernandez, the champion. So he did have Victory Strike in his main. I didn't even notice that. That's so crazy. But he, I think all of these choices are very cool. I think just relying on these 2 as far as main attackers, along with Explorer Bulma, and then making sure to combo out, etc., using the Super Dragon Ball to keep a card advantage, and as well as to get into the drop, and then Explorer Bulma into Dragon Radar, into whatever else that you need, and then having the Hidden Mastery package in the main is very cool. I think this is a very solid deck. Very happy, well, not very happy that Super Shenron even exists in this sort of form, but that is just how it be sometimes. The No Escape Goku 1 of is interesting, but cool. But I guess it's just for the Red Gogeta. If you're listening, just comment on this and let me know. The Haru Haru at 4 is insane because Super Shonen benefits so much from this card, and I think I think that's really good. Like if you look at all these other decks, they don't have. Well, he has Haru Haru. This guy doesn't have Haru Haru, so that guy has Haru. This guy has Haru Haru at 4, which is Anthony Hernandez. So I think that's a very good choice, and I think the Whis for the mirror match, Dark Power for the mirror match, and then 2 of the Bardox, which if you saw the finals, it did work. And of course, this was the Broly deck that kind of snuck in pretty standard. Like if you compare this deck to all the other green yellow decks that we saw that topped before with the secret, they're not very much different, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a testament of how good the deck is, but it also is a little disappointing that, you know, it's not very creative. I like creative things. That's why I'm not as competitive as many others, but still very cool. It did its job. It did work. It beat a lot of different people. It got into the finals, and I don't think this deck is going to go anywhere. I don't think it needs to be touched. I think it has a lot of outs as far as to beat it, but I think the format in itself is a little bit a little all over the place when it comes to trying to figure out what beats everything. And I don't think you need to beat everything. I think you need to be really good at what you're doing in your deck, and then just have answers in the side or in the future, basically. As far as Super Shenron, that's going to be a completely different video. But again, that is the breakdown. I talked a lot. Let me know in the comments below, so that way I do not have to talk that much. Well, I'm not going to talk much because this is pretty much over. But subscribe if you're new. Join the Discord because we are always talking about awesome stuff. As soon as Eggman was on the stream, we were freaking out, and as he was in the top 8, we were freaking out. So if anything, come join the fun. It is in the description below. Like, dislike, all that other stuff, and I will see you in the next one. Later.